and
because you lose control of your
said
body.
my name, and then that was it. And it took me a half an hour to kill her. I thought I was going to be able to choke her out and have her out in like a couple minutes.
That conversation was recorded without his knowledge, in a car, by someone he trusted. He wasn't talking to a detective. He was talking to a friend. And 2 months before he said those words, he had spent his afternoons doing something else entirely. Walking beside her father, calling out her name along a stretch of New Jersey shoreline, helping search for a 19-year-old girl he already knew was never coming home.
Her name was Sarah Stern. Her body has never been found. Before this is over, you're going to hear him say 4 more things, in his own voice, in his own words, and each one gets harder to sit with than the last. Sarah lived her whole life in a town small enough that her friendships never really had an expiration date. The people she knew in kindergarten were still the people she trusted at 19. That's not unusual for a shore town like Neptune City, but it's about to become the single most important fact in this entire case. When Sarah was still a teenager, her mother died of cancer. Losing a parent that young changes who you trust with the rest of your life. And in Sarah's case, it's about to matter in a way almost no one could have predicted. It also left behind something else. Money set aside for Sarah's future. Money that was supposed to be a small piece of security after losing her mother. Keep that detail in mind. Before this story is over, that inheritance will matter more than anything else in it.
By 19, Sarah hadn't drifted from the people she grew up with. Liam McAtasney had known her since childhood. Preston Taylor had been her date to junior prom. Neither of them was a stranger to her. Neither of them was a stranger to her family. 2 of the people she trusted most were about to become the reason none of that safety mattered. December 2nd, 2016 started like any other afternoon in Neptune City. Sarah was home. By the time anyone realized something was wrong, more than 12 hours had already passed.
Emergency? Not emergency. Actually on the Belmar Bridge, right after heading south in the middle of the bridge, there's a car that's abandoned. It's off to the side of the road, but...
The Belmar Bridge being the 35 bridge?
Yeah, the 35 bridge would be going over the...
At 2:45 the following morning, a patrol officer pulled onto the Route 35 bridge in Belmar and found a silver 1994 Oldsmobile sitting alone under the streetlights. The engine was off.
The keys were still in the ignition. No one was inside. To an officer standing on that bridge at 3 in the morning, the scene told a specific kind of story. The kind departments see more often than anyone would like. A young woman, a bridge. A car left running, or nearly so, like someone had simply stepped out and kept walking. It's the story the scene was built to tell. Whether that story was true is a different question entirely. It would take one person, someone close enough to McAtasney to hear the truth firsthand, to find out. Word travels fast in a town like Neptune. Within hours, this wasn't a story people were reading about somewhere else. It was happening on their own streets, to a girl half of them had known since elementary school. Divers went into the water beneath the bridge. Volunteers fanned out along the shoreline, checking anything that might have washed up. Sarah's father, Michael Stern, was out there too, day after day, holding on to the only thing available to him.
The possibility that she was still alive somewhere, that this hadn't already turned into the thing everyone feared.
Two of the volunteers walking that shoreline, comforting that father, coordinating that search, were Liam McCattersney and Preston Taylor. For weeks, Monmouth County had an open missing persons case, a search effort involving half the town, and no leads. And the entire time, two of the people helping conduct that search already knew there was nothing left to find. Cases without a body usually stall. Investigators can suspect someone for years without ever being able to prove it. This one didn't stall, because someone close to McCattersney couldn't carry what he knew any longer. In January of 2017, a man named Anthony Curry walked into a police station carrying something he said he couldn't hold on to any longer. Liam McCattersney, he told them, had talked to him about Sarah. Not as a rumor he'd overheard, not secondhand, directly and in detail. Police believed him, enough to ask him for something most people would find almost impossible. Go back to McCattersney. Act like nothing had changed. Sit across from a friend who had, by Curry's account, described killing another friend, and get him to say it again. Curry agreed. He wired his own car with a hidden camera, and he sat down across from McCattersney one more time. What that camera recorded would become the single most important piece of evidence in the entire case.
Respect, okay? Nothing. Yeah, I got the FBI on my ass, too. What are they questioning? Oh, yeah, a lot. About killing Sarah. So you've been laying low, I guess. Oh, yeah. And that's not even the worst part. The worst part of it is I thought I was walking out 50 grand, 100 grand in my pocket. She had one safe, and she took money out, and she only had 10 grand. And this money, I don't know if it was burnt or something. It's fucking old money, terrible quality. I don't even know if I can put any of it in the fucking bank. Right, because it'll probably
$8,000. That's what investigators say he actually walked away with. A fraction of what he thought he'd get, and nowhere near enough to explain what he was willing to do to get it. Afterward, prosecutors say McCattersney turned to Preston Taylor, Sarah's own former prom date, and McCattersney's roommate at the time, for help. Together, the two of them are alleged to have driven her car back out to that same bridge, left the keys in the ignition, and staged the rest. Here's a question worth asking directly. Why didn't anyone suspect them sooner? The answer is proximity, not distance. Liam McCattersney had known Sarah since childhood. When her mother was dying in 2013, his own family had been present, there for one of the hardest stretches of Sarah's life, in the way only people who were truly close to a family show up. Years later, McCattersney's mother would describe her son publicly as someone who loved and adored Sarah. Set against a recording of him describing her death in clinical detail, that description sits uneasily with almost everyone who has read it since then. Taylor's connection to Sarah ran just as deep, and that closeness is exactly why, when detectives eventually built their case, his cooperation would end up carrying as much weight as the recording itself. There was no unfamiliar car circling the block, no stranger anyone could point to. The danger, this time, had been sitting at Sarah's own kitchen table for years, which is precisely why it took a confession, not an investigation, to expose it. Once Curry's recording was in their hands, detectives didn't wait. Within weeks, both men were in custody.
But an arrest isn't a conviction, and prosecutors knew a jury would eventually have to hear that same recording and decide on their own whether it was enough. Preston Taylor made his decision before it ever got that far. He pleaded guilty to helping dispose of Sarah's body, to his role in taking the
money her mother had left her, and he agreed to do something far harder than a guilty plea: testify against the man he'd once called his roommate. Liam McAtasney made the opposite choice. He would face a jury. He would face the recording. And he would have to do it sitting a few feet from Sarah's father.
By January 2019, when this case reached a Monmouth County courtroom, prosecutors had built their argument around one piece of evidence more powerful than almost anything else they could have presented: Curry's hidden camera recording.
Drag her. My biggest problem was the dog, and her dog laid there and watched as I killed him. Didn't do anything. Her f***ing dog. What kind of dog? Yeah, what kind of dog is that? It's like some. It looks like a beagle, but it's like the size of a Great Dane. I took her out, dragged her into the back, put her in the bathroom, and then I had to go straight to work. So Preston came over, took the body, put it in the bushes. I pretty much hung her, like, I picked her up and had her just, like, dangling off the ground. She just pissed herself and said my name, and then that was it. And it took me a half an hour to kill her. I thought I was going to be able to choke her out, have her out.
Jurors sat and listened to McAtasney's own voice describing what he'd done. Not with panic, not with hesitation, but with the tone of someone retelling a story at a party. Preston Taylor took the stand as a cooperating witness, laying out the plan, the roles, the aftermath, testimony that lined up point for point with what the recording had already captured. The defense had one job: convince 12 people that a man bragging to a friend in a parked car wasn't the same as a man confessing to murder. It didn't take the jury long to reach a different conclusion. In February 2019, Liam McAtasney was found guilty on all 7 counts, including first-degree murder, robbery, conspiracy, and desecrating Sarah's remains. At sentencing that June, McAtasney was seen wiping tears from his eyes. Prosecutors weren't convinced. One of them told the court directly that those tears were an insult to the family, to the community, to every friend who had spent weeks searching for a girl who was already gone. Sarah's father, Michael Stern, stood and delivered his victim impact statement. He never looked at McAtasney. Instead, he described a spirit that had been broken, and nightmares that hadn't stopped since the morning police told him his daughter's car had been found abandoned on a bridge, with no sign of her inside. Liam McAtasney received life without parole, plus 10 more years for what he did to Sarah's body after she was already gone. Preston Taylor, for his cooperation, received far less time. On paper, that's where a case like this usually ends. This case doesn't get to end there.
Here's what makes this case different from most of the ones you'll ever watch a video about.
Good, man. How you doing? How you doing? You can't blame me for doing this, right? I gotta see you up right? No disrespect. I'll show you. No disrespect, okay? Nothing. Yeah, I got the FBI right.
He said it almost like a shrug. That sentence is still true today. Sarah Stern's body has never been recovered. Not from the river below that bridge, not from the bay it feeds into, not anywhere. Her father has spent years grieving a daughter he has never been able to bury. No headstone, no single place to sit with her. Just a bridge, a river, and a silence no guilty verdict was ever going to fill.
It would be easy to spend this final moment on Liam McCattersney, on the calm in his voice on that recording, on the $8,000 he thought was worth more than a childhood friendship, on tears in a courtroom that convinced no one. But this case was never really about him. It's about a father with nowhere to lay his daughter to rest. It's about a town that searched for weeks for a girl who was already gone, while two of the searchers already knew. And it's about how easily people assume the ones closest to them, the ones who grew up down the same street, the ones their family stood beside through the worst years of their lives, are the last people who could ever hurt them. For Sarah Stern, that assumption turned out to be the most dangerous thing in the room. Liam McCattersney is serving life without parole. But somewhere, in that river, in that bay, in a place no one has ever been able to find, the one thing that could bring Sarah's family the smallest measure of peace is still out there. If you know anything, if you've ever driven past that bridge in Belmar and wondered, the case may be closed. For Sarah's family, it isn't.